Here we are.
You know, it's been a while.
It's been a moment.
Between the last Redneck and an Immigrant walk into a bar. What's happened since is the immigrant's been injured. That's
by a redneck.
Which is what happens.
Yes.
So I knew it was going to happen.
One day. Yeah, I was looking for a different partner for this show, but I'm going to stay with him.
Now you've made a choice. You normally are right-handed.
Yes.
In this country, a right-handed person generally wears a watch on the
left hand.
Now you've injured the left hand and you've moved the watch to
the right hand, which is very awkward.
Odd to do that.
Very.
Can you even tell time if you do this?
I have to do it this way.
Is it upside down?
Yeah.
And you kept the wedding ring.
I did today. So you have don't get any ideas.
Oh, today.
It's been
so it's discretionary. On Saturday nights it comes off.
Weekend it's off.
So it's been a while. How long's it been?
Not
that it matters.
Since I broke it, it was Friday 2 weeks ago, I think, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, playing tennis with our friends, made a clumsy move, fell down, unbelievable pain, continued playing for 2.5 more sets, couldn't toss the ball, so underserve, single-handed backhand, then against my wife's better judgment, sorry honey, I said, I'm not going to doctor. It's not black and blue next day, even though it was swollen like this. Oh. I said, maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's not the debilitating pain of first week. Then went to urgent care. They said, immediately go to emergency room. Then emergency room, they anesthesia. They tried to put it's broken in a couple places. And then they tried to put the wrist back in the place. Couldn't do it. So then surgery last Friday. There is still pain, but I'm in a much better state. But listen, let's not do it. Thank God I'm back to normal, whatever normal means for me, and normal means with this thing. But looks like I'm going to have an arm, because there was a point where I said, I think they're going to cut this arm.
I'm not sure it would come to that.
The pain was just debilitating.
Well, the pain's all in the mind.
Well, it was in my arm.
We got to figure out this urgent care versus emergency room.
Yeah.
In the emergency room, they dissuade you from coming there unless you have a bone sticking out.
Yep.
You're standing in a puddle of blood.
Yep.
Something like that. If you just show up, with the
fever,
cough, they're like, you should go
urgent
come
care.
to the emergency room.
Right.
It's for
emergencies.
Yeah. So now, we've all got to draw the line here. Is this an urgent care visit?
Right.
Or is this an emergency room visit?
Very true.
So, I don't know. In the old days, it was just one thing.
Yeah.
You just go there.
Oh, I have some thoughts about the best healthcare in the world, America, but also our healthcare administrative system. We can talk about that at some point. Unfortunately, last week we had some events triggering that. You and I usually we try to be a little more, how would I say, neutral in our conversations. Neutral is a good word. Good word. Neutral. Yeah, somewhat neutral, right? But I think last week was a bit of a eventful. Of course, it was the anniversary or the 24 years since 9/11, which was an atrocious event.
I thought that from the onset of this that we should veer a bit off of the mainstream. You can get the mainstream talks anywhere.
Very true.
And so let's go on a side avenue.
Yep.
On the intercoastal, if you will, and stay out of the main water.
Yep.
But sometimes you get pulled into the main water. You can't help.
Well, I think it not only can help it, but I think if we don't do it, it'll be a little bit disingenuous because it's on top of our minds.
Well, it's the elephant in the room. We're just working around it. But you're referencing, I believe, Mr. Kirk's
murder.
It's a big word.
Well, that's what it is. It is a big word. May God rest his soul. But it was just horrific, and just overall, other than a great man being executed in front of thousands of people and his family, and then the clip being played over and over for millions of people, it also highlights how split the society is. So
I'm surprised regarding the clip. When I saw it, I didn't expect to see such a graphic video clip of the actual shooting.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be, I think, more discretionary of what they would show you, and then there it is. You know, and you see, you know, the gore that's associated with a gunshot wound. I was a bit surprised by that. I mean, that came out immediately.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know who's running the store there and decided, well, this is fine, put this out, you know, for anyone to see, people who knew him, family members and stuff. There it is, the graphic nature of the video. But I digress in that mode. But I think that, as I mentioned to you before, that as a whole in American society, we've become somewhat desensitized to acts of violence. And not only desensitized, but we're willing to, when I say we, I say some people are willing to justify acts of violence. The means justifies the end. I mean, Martin Luther King said violence is not ever an option.
Yep.
Well,
he said
that in the 60s.
Well, he was a great man, and he was also murdered. But I think continuing on your thought is that on one hand, as a society, we have become so sensitive around, don't say that, it may be offensive, or don't do that, it may be offensive. Some people may find it offensive. Meanwhile, you're seeing let me not compliment the person yet, but a human being executed, and people celebrate, and people say, well, he had it coming, right? And that is just such a juxtaposition, or I don't even know what's a smart word to find, where on one hand society is so sensitive because you can't say that because it might be offensive to people, but on the other hand, kill them, right? They deserve it, they had it coming. Some people say, wish the other people, as names of our president or others, they were there too and getting shot, right? And it's so unbelievable. It's nothing to do with me being a very proud American, naturalized, given I wasn't born here. But what is going on with our country, that we're so divided that there are no a death should be something just a moment of quiet reflection, a moment of okay, the person died, right? You're not old enough, but you mentioned Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, then Bobby Kennedy. When they were executed, I would venture to guess that you probably, as a society, they weren't, let's say, right or left or another angle, newspapers celebrating it or justifying it, or talking about Lee Harvey Oswald as he was a good man. He kind of liked to paint, right? It's unbelievable.
No.
We looked at Lee Oswald's diary, and he seemed like a very kind man, right? He's a murderer.
Well, first of all, in 1963, Kennedy, Oswald,
Yep.
there were only 3 channels.
True. Well,
ABC, NBC, CBS.
and newspapers.
Okay, there were newspapers, of course, but basically they just reported the news.
Right. Walter Cronkite takes the glasses off.
It's just, here's what happened.
Right.
And we're not on a side.
True.
So
which
here's the big difference.
that is very true.
Journalism was neutral, and we're just going to report the news.
Right.
So we're not going to be sympathetic to Oswald because we're anti-Kennedy.
Right.
And so we're going to say some nice things about Oswald. Well, he did have a nice shirt on that.
Jesus.
But look, this goes back to basic. If you are a threat to a certain group's narrative, then you become a target. Okay, Jesus Christ was a threat to the Jewish hierarchy.
Wow, you went deep on that one.
Yeah, the Jewish hierarchy.
Alan, you'll be very proud of Jim
said,
here.
This guy is a problem. We're running the show
Right.
here, and this guy is an interloper. He comes in, and now they're not paying attention to us. They're paying
Right.
attention to him. And we don't agree with everything he's saying. So then Pontius Pilate,
Yep.
who is like, "You sure you want to get rid of this guy?"
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to.
Yeah, right. It's
Want to.
your call.
Yeah, and so his own people
Right.
said, he's such a threat to us. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah.
It started there.
Well, I'm sure it's that is a very.
I'm not comparing anyone to Jesus Christ.
No, I
I'm just
understand.
saying that the threat was enough to have people say, let's get rid of him.
Yes, but American society that was built, 250 years ago, there are 10 commandments hanging in our Supreme Court building, the values, Judeo-Christian, and, we have multiple religions here living in U.S., Hindus, Muslims, and others, right? But as a society, overall, we are more, I don't even know what to say, that we're a proper society. I'm not saying better than anywhere else. Let's not compare. And now we live in the age where it's, you said it, right? The means justify the end, right? Or end justify the means.
No.
The means justify the end, right?
Shooting him
justifies
the fact that he's a threat to our agenda.
Which is incredible. I mean, we can go into his character and talk about was he right or wrong. But aside from that, for a moment, right? How can it be so normalized that, well, we disagreed with him, so some people, he had it coming, right? Mm-hmm. I cannot understand that. And this is not my naivete. No, I get the violence. I get that, sometimes there is a war and people die, and sometimes innocent people die. And, we have wars happening now in Europe, Middle East, African continent, and many other places. But, in our society, when a person what he did throughout his career is verbally debating people. Now, you may agree with his point of view. You may disagree with his point of view. It's up to you, right? But to say, I disagree with you so much that killing you makes me happy, we've shifted of our normal axis. And we need to, as a society, and this is by no means I'm trying to talk about our society like, calling to it, no, but we need to come back to, apart from politically, we have no center left. You're either very here or very here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and I think in the case of Charlie Kirk, what he was trying to do is create the avenues and mediums for communication. And the only way, Jimmy, if you and I disagree on a subject very, very strongly, the only way for us to have a fighting chance to get to some kind of a common ground is to communicate, yeah. Right? Hey, what do you think about it? Well, I disagree with, right? And go back and forth, and then it doesn't mean that I will persuade you on my side, or conversely, you'll persuade me to your side, but it will will open up some doors and create some linkages. And that's what he was doing, go through colleges, through high schools, and now, all the labeling of him being this or that or the other, and the undercurrent of those labels is that, well, he deserved to die, which is incredible.
Well, to take a step back,
yeah.
Regarding justified, here's an oxymoron: justified murder. Okay, meaning in some way you have worked it out in your mind that this act of extreme violence, the ultimate violence, is justified. Okay, now let's say World War II.
Yeah.
Okay, Civil War. Pick one.
Yep.
It's us against them.
Yep.
It's the South against the North.
Right.
It's America against the
Nazi Germany,
Germany or the
Japan,
Japanese or whatever was happening in World War II there. And so you had people called conscientious objectors.
Yep.
Okay, that they said, look, I'm not going to go along with this because I can't kill people.
Right.
It's wrong to kill people. And these people were moved to the side.
Yep.
And like, we're not going to let that slow down the war
Right.
effort here. So that you just plow right through. So it's us against them. They're a threat to our way of life. And so it's justified. You know, you get out there in war with a gun in your hand and you do what you need to do. You do what you've been trained to do. You do what you've been told to do. And it's justified because it's war.
Yeah.
War is hell. It's
Yeah.
us against
Yeah.
them. All right. So now it gets boiled down into war against us and them politically.
Yeah, but I understand, but the political war inside the country of the same country's citizens, of the same people who were being born and raised on same values, if I may. Maybe you could argue the point there that maybe values are a little bit different, but that's not a war. Well, you know, as I'm talking, you know, from the other side of my mouth, I'm thinking, well, there is a political war, and how different is political war inside the country, which is a civil war,
The
which
Civil War.
right.
I mean, it was brother against brother.
Yeah.
It was one narrative against another, anti-slavery. Make no mistake, that's what it was about. You know, we're not going to do it that way. You need to stop doing it that way. You can't tell us what to do. It breaks out. You know, so now we're protecting our way of life, and so it justifies killing. So
yeah, but that's a very dangerous thin ice for us as a society, where, again, Charlie Kirk wasn't a militant man. He was an antagonizing person. Maybe some people find it that way.
Did you say he was?
He was not.
Well, there are lots of people that would disagree with that statement. Okay.
He was debating, right? All what he was saying, hey, I like red color, you like green color, right? I was going to say blue, and then I realized that was so green color.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you liking green color is wrong, or me liking, and you're not saying me liking red color is wrong, but let's talk, right? And creating that conversation, right? And he had strong points of view on religion, on citizenship, on loving the country, on maybe, you know, as topics as, you know, Second Amendment, abortion. He had his points of view. But isn't this the country's First Amendment? Is the freedom of speech, where you could actually express your thoughts, and, you know, unless your thoughts are delusional, which maybe there will be question mark in conversation about mental institution. But he had his, well, disagree with him, talk to him, don't label him, right? Just because, Jim, I disagree with your point of view, by me saying, oh, well, then you're racist because you don't like immigrants. Hang on. I didn't say that, Alex. All I said is, you know, you should dress differently. That's all I said, right? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how suddenly lack of intelligent argument has a cop-out. Well, it had a cop-out, it still does, of labeling the person. Well, then you're ist, whatever that word is, right? Misogynist, racist, whatever, right? But now also we're going to kill you for that, and we're going to celebrate.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think
that the celebratory nature of it that we've seen from some people is the mystery. You know, it's not, well, I have a private, quiet agenda that I'm actually happy about this. It's out there.
Oh, and let me make a photo of it, make a video of it. Let me go to and, you know, kick some flowers of people, you know, mourning his death, right? I mean
the fact that that people go that far to express their glee of this person being eliminated from the threat has been eliminated. Yeah. That's what they're celebrating.
Yeah.
So,
and meanwhile, hold that thought. I apologize for interrupting. Hold on. Meanwhile, we're saying, when you read Huckleberry Finn, there's some lines there that may be a little bit it may be offensive, right? So on one hand, we are so sensitive about being offensive, and just maybe you shouldn't say that. Some people may not like that comment, right? On the other hand, kill him. He deserved it.
Yeah. Oh well.
Anyway.
Well, the desensitized nature of violence. I mean, they've been warning for decades now. These kids grow up on the video games, on Grand Theft Auto, and you shoot the people, and and you get points for it and everything. They grow up on this sort of a training basis, and they're pretty desensitized to violence.
But those are the very same kids that they don't like to hear that or this because it sounds offensive to them. Those are very same kids, right? I mean, it's interesting how on one hand the words are more offensive and more hurtful than actually killing somebody. I can't get this got to me. I know my wife, my family, kids. They knew Charlie Kirk not personally, right? And this was really a painful and it still is very painful. And I think if as a country we mourned, I think what we did during the JFK assassination or Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, maybe some bad people in their kitchen conversation said, but it was quiet. There's always, society cannot be all unified in their opinion. Understand, we are 340 million people nation. We will have some people on the fringes on either side of whatever. But as a society to celebrate, tolerate, justify, and then talk about, the murderers, the killers. Well, in his text messages, he comes across as such a nice and touchy-feely guy. Right? What the hell are you talking about? Anyway.
I think that everyone from the perpetrators behind crucifying Christ to Lee Harvey Oswald to John Wilkes Booth, who killed Lincoln, and on and on and on. All of these people felt like Booth thought he was going to be celebrated. I'm doing the right thing here.
Right.
This emancipator has ruined our
country.
Southern lifestyle. And so if I get rid of him, I'm going to be celebrated. Because I've got, half the nation who's behind me. Okay, so he thought it was justified. Lee Harvey Oswald et al.
Yes, and
the grassy knoll.
The et al part is an interesting one, right? If you look at, I mentioned 9/11 earlier. We said Bin Laden is behind this. Well, Bin Laden was not in the airport. He didn't fly the airplane. But we said Bin Laden is behind that, and luckily our great military men and women, they got to him and they killed him. It took a while to find him, but we did. Right? And we knew all the 19 hijacker names, right? But we also knew there is some et al. Behind them, right? And I don't want to go into McCarthyism and witch hunt, but in a case when you have a 22-year-old kid who's still wet behind his ears about life, period, right? Was he that? Is there a Bin Laden or Bin Ladens on either side? I'm not trying to take any political side on this one. I do have strong convictions about my political side, but I don't want to bring it into our conversation. But more around, is that the person behind the wheel of the airplane? There is no wheel, right? No, there is no wheel. But flying that plane into the building, but there is a line that there is a grand mastermind. In this case, we personify that as Osama bin Laden. Right? but there needs to be look into it as how did we get to a point in a society where we just murder people and we're fine with that. B, we celebrate, which I think I can't get off of that one. As you can tell, I keep, no matter what I say, I go into Afghanistan, talk about Bin Laden, I come back to the celebration because that blows my mind.
Well, Bin Laden and his people do celebrate the death to America.
Yep.
Jihad.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's, so that's their mindset. This is perfectly justified to kill them.
Right, because they're killing us. Right? In their mind, they're the what they call infidels.
Right. So we are the threat. It keeps coming back to the same common thing. So we're going to have people whose narrative is a threat to our own narrative, whether it be politically or otherwise. And at some point, this let's just shoot them. They cross this line where this is the crux of what we're talking about. Not necessarily insane people who don't know the difference between right and wrong, who've lost touch with all reality. It's just that they have it in their minds, this is justified. Okay. Now this 22-year-old kid you referred to, his main emphasis, or the reason he went to all this trouble to flush his life, to shoot somebody, I think has to do with trans rights.
Could be. I'm sure here we could get on a thin ice because the reason I'm not trying to avoid a topic. I just don't want us, for somebody out of few people who are going to watch this, our friends and family, right, to say, well, no, it wasn't about a trans right. I don't want to get that loophole of the conversation. I want to get it on the macro level, saying this is wrong, period, no matter what the hell. Correct?
Yeah.
And also, to your point about there'll always be us and them. Yes, the world has 8 billion people, or whatever the number is. I have no idea how they count. But and there'll be, political disagreements, religious disagreements, national disagreements, whatever. I get it. Yeah. I totally get it. Yeah. But here we are. We're in America. We're Americans, right? We love our country. And by the way, and I hate to say this as an immigrant, this should be your line. If you don't like it here, get the hell out of here. Okay? We have great airline companies, Deltas, Americans, Uniteds, and others of the world. Get on an airplane, go wherever you like. If you're here, you love this country. Right? And in our country, I think, and I'm going to say something, if this whole conversation was not controversial, I'm going to make it a little more controversial, right? When we say celebrate diversity, I think we should celebrate unity. It's not about celebrating diversity. Yes, we're diverse, but we should celebrate unity first and foremost. And our unity is because we're Americans. We love our country, right? Now, in our country, it's like within family. Right? Unfortunately, I have a very small family. But there are families who have, 5 brothers and 6 sisters, and their parents and grandparents, and then the brothers and sisters marry, and they have this big family table, and there are so many jokes about the Thanksgiving table with the demented uncle, and within family there are disagreements, but it's still a family. Within family, they would never justify a killing of a brother, a sister, or
usually.
And you would hope, right? Within family, they would say, "Yeah, he had it coming."
Yeah,
right? He was always playing video games, so the hardworking brother had to kill him.
Yeah,
and if you make another biblical reference to Abel and Cain, that would be
it goes back. But I have touched on this point before in different methods, but the erosion. It's the only word I have for it, of certain aspects of American society. Let's look at, there used to be this word called decorum.
Uh-huh.
Okay. A general protocol for how we speak to each other.
Yep.
Especially politically. Take the Senate, for example, or Congress. And it used to be a very strict protocol, and there was decorum in the room. And, the senator would say, even though he doesn't like this guy, he would say, I would like to yield my time to the
honorable
gentleman, the honorable gentleman from Virginia over here. Even though you think, oh, this guy is, I don't like him, but that's the way it was conducted.
Yep.
Okay, a certain amount of decorum. This is the way you act in this room.
Right.
Okay, where's that?
Yeah.
Okay, with decorum's out the window among a bunch of senators and congressmen. They're not even going to play along with that anymore because of the division. The division.
But okay, so if we were as a society, as a whole, as a nation, to say, okay, we're clearly divided, right?
Clearly.
What do we do? This is rhetorical. I'm sure you may have an answer, so go for it. I'm not preempting your answer whatsoever. But I'm saying, what do we do? Do we just agree to, right? What's the solution? And I think in the case of specifically Charlie Kirk, he had a solution. He was reaching across the proverbial, in your Senate terms, across the aisle. Hey, let's talk. Let me hear you, right? You are pro-abortion. I am pro-life. Let's talk. I'm not saying I will make you agree with my point. I sure as hell will not agree with yours because I feel this is. I'm kind of talking in Charlie Kirk's point of view, right? I feel that abortion is a murder, right? But let's talk. And that's the most brilliant way to have this gap that is continuously increasing amongst us and them in a society where we, in the end, we're one country. I said this before. We were here, 9/11 again, third time making the reference. I said, we're probably the most united as a country on September 12th, 2001. Mm-hmm. There was no us and them. Well, there was, but it was us. Us. No, it was us.
Yeah.
At that moment, on September 12th, there were us.
Same in World War II.
I don't think we had well, I'm trying to bring it to in relatively recent terms to say, okay, that was 24 years ago, September 12th, when we were as a nation. Nobody was talking about, I'm not going to say the names of any of those people who were flying airplanes, right? To say, but he was kind of a good guy. I mean, he had a good family, right? No, there was no, look at his text messages. I mean, he seemed like a very nice husband, right? No.
Yeah.
Niet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here we are. Anyway, I think, and apologies for a few people who are going to listen to this, that we got a little bit more emotional on this and a little bit off our beaten path of, just discussing our lives. But this clearly hit hard for you and me and our families and our friends. And I think, you said it. If we didn't talk about the elephant in the room, we would be disingenuous to ourselves.
Well, is there a point where diplomacy, negotiations has hit such a wall that it's futile? Okay, it must have happened with Lincoln in 1862.
Yep.
With Jefferson Davis, the president of the Southern
Confederates.
I mean, because it's like, we disagree. We're not going to do that, and they should have said right there, let's continue to negotiate, let's have civil discourse, let's have diplomacy and work this out. Because what's the alternative? Well, the alternative was they start shooting at ships in Fort Sumter and we're at war.
500,000 American young men died.
Yeah, and so diplomacy and negotiations for peace stopped. And it just hit a wall, and it just went to the third level, and so you have to be careful that you keep suggesting that there should be civil discourse and debate, which and the irony of Martin Luther King is that violence is not the answer.
Correct.
That he's shot and killed.
Okay, so I'm a little bit startled around. So what do we do then?
What do we do when you're at the impasse?
Yes.
Impasse meaning it's not going to go through. Impasse, you're not passing. Now it's down to the standoff. I mean, what is going to happen?
Yeah,
they start shooting, we start shooting back.
Yeah, that's we don't want to be there, right? Because greatest country in the world, the United States of America, Okay, the best, not perfect, the best.
Yeah.
My opinion, people may disagree. Right? We cannot be attacked from outside for next 100 years. Okay, no one comes distantly close to our military capability or what have you. However, we can be eroded from within. And if we have enemies outside, okay, I'm not going to name countries, if we have, for them, this situation, what we have inside right now, is celebratory.
Yeah.
Celebratory, right?
Yeah, let them
If it's a big piece of steel, you cannot penetrate, but you can try to erode it from inside.
Well, somebody said, I have met the enemy and he is us.
He's us.
And that's where we
That's
are.
where we are.
So the internal combustion politically, and the whole thing of, well, you know, you say bad things happen. You got professional journalists saying things like that.
Incredible.
But look at the backlash going on here. Jimmy Kimmel just got pulled.
Right.
Okay, because of some
Comments he made.
yes, derogatory comments aimed at the right, and so then you have other journalists
Yep.
who have said some inflammatory things who've been fired.
Yep.
Or forced to quit. I mean, so there's a pushback. I'm kind of surprised that some of these companies are doing this or responding this way. That they're getting rid of some people and saying, we're not going to do that anymore.
Well, you know, I'm not going to go into my usual follow the money conversation, right? Mm-hmm. But more around, I think some companies maybe genuinely feel like this is unacceptable, right? Because you and I are not the smartest people in America by long shot. And people understand this is unacceptable. We just can't do this. We cannot, if there is a divide, instead of continuously widening it, we need to find a way to bring it a little closer, right? And making inflammatory comments. I mean, just think about his family, right? People talk about, you know, what he said, what he should have said, what he shouldn't have said. Think about his wife. I mean, his kids are too young to understand what is happening, right? His family, I don't even know his parents, siblings. I don't know his family. I should probably be a little bit more better prepared.
Well, you're looking at the human side.
Human side.
Okay.
Right? And here we are saying, yeah, right? This
from
is
the political aspect, it's a very ice cold proposition. You know,
we need to, as a society, just to find a way to unify ourselves. I mean, we don't want another 9/11, God forbid. That would be a unification call. We don't want another Pearl Harbor to be a unification call for all of us, right? It's like, you know, our lives are so good that we are infighting, right? It has to be some tragic event like 9/11 or Pearl Harbor that we suddenly, as a nation, we get unified. Right? We don't want that. We want, let's celebrate our great life. Let's disagree on things, but we're still, first and foremost, we're Americans, right? And by being an American, you protect American lives, period, full stop, right?
Putin has an amazing security detail.
Yes.
It's vast.
Yes, I'm well aware of.
And the reason is it's not paranoia if they're really trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And they are.
Yeah.
There are lots of people around him, powerful people, who feel that he's bad for Russia in general, and that they would be better served with someone more of a centrist, who's a little less authoritarian. And so it would help them if someone would get rid of him. And Putin is aware of this. So he has this apparently vast security system, and he doesn't step outside without just a forensic, audit of the rooftops.
Forensic is one way of describing it, yes.
And so
careful.
There are people who want him gone. So he's got to. And then obviously Trump's security is at an all-time high now.
Yeah.
I hope it's much better than it was.
Yeah, in Butler, Pennsylvania.
The last thing.
Hey, the guy is crawling on the roof. The guy has a rifle, it was like a comedy skit.
It was 2 Boy Scouts, slingshots protecting him. Ridiculous. But I'm sure that's been rectified.
Well, good Lord willing.
I'm pretty sure it's been, because are they aware that there are people out there that are calculating and thinking of the next opportunity? Absolutely, they're aware of it.
I'm curious where you're going. That's why I'm not interrupting.
Well,
where are you headed?
There's no end to this.
No, listen.
It doesn't stop now.
There are always a big political figures, president of Russia, president of U.S., Kim Jong-un, North Korea, or Xi Jinping, Chinese Republic, whatever, China. You have Maduro in South America. Yeah, there always are political figures, and they always have a security apparatus that is protecting them. That's kind of like, that's a given, right?
Because there's always someone that wants.
Of course. Okay, we get that. Right? But when Chapman, I think that's his name, when he killed John Lennon, right? I don't. People who didn't like the Beatles, if there are, so they didn't say, now Rolling Stones are going to be right.
It was Mick Jagger who said,
yeah, now Satisfaction.
Yeah,
right?
Finally.
Where are we? All right, I think we probably got a little carried away on time, but this was clearly very emotional for both of us. It's great to see you. Great to be back. We shouldn't take any more delays, and we can blame my broken arm or my broken brain.
I blame.
Oh, you had a little to that, but no. I will, in a spirit of conciliatory and narrowing the gap between us, I will say it was my fault.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Thank you all.